I want to talk about the shutdowns, and I want to talk about the people who are advocating for these lockdown orders to continue persisting. And I want to just really go into detail about how I feel about these people and just to really explain who these people actually are. Okay. So, the people that I see advocating for strict lockdown orders are either A, rich, pharma executives or people who have lots and lots of stock invested in the big pharma companies because a vaccine that people are going to be desperate to take is going to send their investments through the roof, right? So there's people who have a legitimate financial investment to gain from keeping the lockdowns in place, right? And then there's also people who are being paid to telework, right? If you're being paid to telework, if you're being paid by a big company to already work from home, the lockdowns and the shutdowns are having a very negligible effect on your ability to earn a living. So you're not able to actually see how everyday folks who own small businesses, who work in restaurants, who work in bars, who have no choice but to actually go to work are feeling and what they're going through, right? So there are those types of people. And then there's the third group of people who I absolutely can't stand. And these are the people who have just been floundering and sinking and doing so badly under our economic system that instead of trying to build ourselves up, right? Instead of trying to provide encouragement or provide support or enable other people to actually go on with their lives, make an adequate living, and provide for themselves and advance their position in life, they are actively campaigning to keep these lockdowns in order so that everybody can be as miserable as they are. I mean, this is really the only conclusion that I can legitimately draw as a result of what's happening with these lockdowns and how people are reacting and just the overall sentiment towards this. That's my take. I mean, obviously you got people who lost friends and family members. That's an entirely different story. So I totally empathize with you if that's been the case, or if you're vulnerable or you're around someone who's really vulnerable to this disease. I think that we should reopen. We need to get our country reopened within the next 4 to 6 weeks, especially here in like Texas and this part of America where the hospital loads are not really overwhelmed so much. So I think that getting us back to work within the next 4 to 6 weeks and reopening everything is something that needs to happen, because if it doesn't happen, you're just going to have even more protests, and it's going to create even more of a public health hazard, and it's going to just create a lot more anger and divisiveness amongst people, which is not something that anybody wants. So that being said, I think we should reopen. And to the people who have vulnerable family members and friends and who are vulnerable, just because things are reopened doesn't mean that they don't get reopened gradually, and doesn't mean that things don't get reopened without certain rules in place, like limiting the number of occupancy in restaurants or movie theaters or even bars. I don't think we should just let the bars be at full capacity right off the bat. Maybe 250 max or something like that when we first start, just to keep people kind of safe. But yeah, things need to be reopened. And I know that with the Spanish flu and with all this other stuff, the reason we had a big, huge second wave is because when things reopened, they just reopened at once, right? We've learned our lesson. We can reopen gradually and ease some of the hurt that's being caused as a result of that. So I'm Alex Stranger. I'm just letting you guys know how I feel about this. I'm just going to try to use this crisis and whatever's happening, try to make the most of it, and I guess try to express my thoughts and sentiments about this, because what's happening right now in our country, in Texas, in Austin, is extremely concerning, and I don't want to just stand there and let it happen without letting my voice get heard. Thank you.